Hi there, I'm Andrew, you're watching ThatGamerAjax, and welcome back to the channel. This time we're going to be doing an overall first impressions on Root, the role-playing game, which I finally got a chance to play thanks to a person opting to run it on my Discord server. So thank you, Zach, for being willing to teach me a little bit about this game. So, Root, the role-playing game, is a Powered by the Apocalypse style game that is created by Magpie Games. It's based off of the board game of Root. Now, I have to say that I have really been enjoying my time with the game so far, even though we're only one session into a mini campaign. But I just wanted to give some overall first impressions of it and why I think that this is kind of a unique game that you could probably play for your table if you're interested in branching out from D&D. So, with Root, the role-playing game, you take on an animalistic little vagabond. You are kind of a very morally gray kind of character, and you get to choose from a variety of playbooks. For my current character, Roland the Raccoon, aka Little King Trashmouth, because I took a lot of inspiration from Bob's Burgers when making the character, I have a playbook where I am the prince. With this, I was kind of raised by other vagabonds, which makes me kind of a little different compared to the others who chose the vagabond life rather than kind of being born into it. With this, I get a variety of different advantages, usually by kind of invoking the names of my parents. And when you are a vagabond, you are kind of almost notorious, almost. You could be more of a Robin Hood style character, or you could be infamous entirely on your choice. To be able to play this game, all you need is your character sheet and 2 six-sided dice, which is what the Powered by the Apocalypse games are very known for. And depending on how you roll, you can get a basically a failure. You can have a kind of middle success round. With what we've been seeing so far is that you are provided a variety of options that you can choose from. So if you're like trying to gain insight into somebody, you can ask one question out of a list that's provided, and if you roll a 10 or higher with those 2 six-sided dice, you get to ask up to 3 questions, usually on the list. We haven't gotten into any combat yet, so unfortunately I'm not able to really break that down, but I have to say that the system seems very narrative driven, which I absolutely love, and because it is set in this kind of fantasy world, it has a lot of elements that you can play on from Dungeons and Dragons, if that's what you are more familiar with and you're wanting to try breaking out of that a little bit, or you just want to try something a little new. I will say that character creation is a very fun process. You get to come up with kind of a whole backstory, and you have a list of questions that you're going to be answering about your character, but the most fun part of it is the collaborative world building that you get to do with the entire party. I know that this is something else that the Powered by the Apocalypse games are kind of known for, but getting to witness and experience it firsthand with this game was really, really cool. With it, you get to build connections with your players. I know that with the campaign that we are going to be running, our characters have known each other for a couple of months, and you get to kind of invoke a little bit of your background expertise into helping your allies out. So for my character, with Roland being a second-generation vagabond, we had somebody else in the party that had worked with my parents previously, actually, and because of that, if I have specific actions that I take, I can help them kind of heal up, especially like in the middle of a conflict or right after a conflict. Something else that's really cool about the game is that you get to invest your money into improving and building your own custom equipment. Now, because of this, you know, what your weapons can break down, and it's going to cost money, or cost, I think, is just how it is associated in the game, to repairing your equipment. But if you want something entirely new, you can go to specialists and you can have things custom made exactly for your character. Some of the traits that you get to take on these weapons are really cool, and I'm very interested to see how they are going to work in an actual combat scenario. So for my character, as a quick example, I built a kind of custom dagger that is more meant for parrying more than anything. I'm going to be taking a very defensive approach with that when combat breaks out. I also really appreciate the fact that it uses kind of key terms rather than distinct ranges, because again, it really leans into the narrative angle of playing the game. So if something is like very close, it has that kind of tag. If you're going to need to like use a bow, it has a far tag on it. I like the fact that it's more of kind of like zone based rather than having like it's 30 feet as a quick example. This might be a little off-putting if you are used to playing with something that has like hard set ranges, but if you are somebody that wants to get into more of theater of the mind, very narrative focused, this is probably going to be a good system for you to get into. And what is being able to play a vagabond without having roguish features that you can pull out at any given moment? These are things that your character specializes in, and usually you'll get little bonuses when you're rolling, usually no more than a +1 or a +2, because you don't want to break the game entirely. But I have to say that with the way that we have used them so far, they are a lot of fun. Now, I will say I've glanced over a couple of other of the Powered by the Apocalypse games, and this one does seem to be a little bit more combat focused and a little bit more kind of tactics heavy in that regard compared to some of the other games that are very similar to it. But I have to say, for something that is relatively quick to play as a group, it has a very, very low learning curve so far. But I'm really enjoying this game, and I cannot wait to see what more of it is like. I would say that if you are somebody that likes narrative-driven games, you like heists, or you want to have something where you have very morally gray characters, this is probably going to be a game that you are going to want to check out. Now, I know that I was able to get a hold of a quick start during Free RPG Day, and that is something that I have been looking through, and it does seem to have a lot of great information on it. I don't know if I would recommend getting the full book at this point if you want like a hardback version, but I think that the PDF is going to be on the more affordable side, and if you want to branch out and you want to try something that your players might be a little bit more familiar with if you play D&D, this would probably be a solid start so far. Once I have a little bit more experience with the game, I will definitely be sure to check back and give my full impressions then. But this is going to go ahead and wrap up the first impressions. Have you played Root the role-playing game? Have you played any of the other Powered by the Apocalypse games like Thirsty Sword Lesbians or Monster of the Week? And which ones would you recommend? And if you do, why would you recommend that specific one? I'm personally always on the lookout for new games. I really want to try playing more. But so far, I think that this one has a very tentative recommendation from me. So that is going to go ahead and wrap up the video. But until next time, see you in the next video. Bye-bye.